Welcome to the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey, Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Ice Talks 2019 style. This is Harold S. Lee Jr., your motivational coach. If you don't know what motivation means, motive plus action equals results, and results equal success. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2019. I know we're 21 days into the year, all right? I got to tell you something. I got to tell you the honest to God truth. I was not inspired to podcast. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm only human, and you won't get anybody that'll admit that to you. Well, I mean, you can't help but admit that you're human, but I had different thoughts, and I was like, do it today. And I was like, you know what? I couldn't do it because I felt as though I was forcing myself to do it. And the beautiful thing about doing this podcast is that I don't write this stuff down. I think and by the way, little housekeeping. This here is the 50th. This is the 50th Ice Talks episode. So let's see. Do I have some applause here? Something for that? Let's see here. Yeah. The 50th Ice Talks episode. Okay, all right. Calm down. Let's get it in. In all seriousness, out of the 49 previous episodes, I think one, maybe two were pre-written. So when you hear these podcasts, mine, I'm speaking to you directly from the heart. I'm speaking to you off the cuff. I'm giving you what I'm feeling in the moment. And there are times when I'll be driving or doing something and a thought will come across my mind and I'll make a mental note to remember it for a podcast. And then there are times when I feel as though I have something to say and I just jump on here and say it. So I say all of that to say that today's podcast is about following your heart, doing what you feel, being honest to yourself. See, because here's something about understanding people. People will always do what is natural to them. No matter what they tell you, no matter what they say, they will always do what is natural to them. I can't remember. I think it might have been Ralph Waldo Emerson who said this. And if I'm mistaken, I apologize. But the saying that comes to mind is, what you're doing speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. People will always do what is natural to them. This is why I always say, I never apologize more than once. I never make more than one apology. If I've done something and it wasn't my intent to do it and it caused someone discomfort or stress or, God forbid, even harm, I'll apologize once. Why? One, I'm not in the business of begging for forgiveness. I'm not in the business of begging for anything. Two, that one apology that you get is the first apology, and the first apology should be all that matters. If I apologize to you, I'm telling you right then and there, I apologize. I wish to atone for what happened. Notice I didn't say I'm sorry. I don't like saying I'm sorry. Sorry takes on a whole different kind of connotation. There's a whole enough of sorry. There's more than enough sorry people walking around today. So I have no problem saying I apologize. And when I say I apologize, that's it as far as I'm concerned. I'm done. I've done my part. Well, at that point, then, see, the thing about apologizing is once you make the apology, then the way you make atonement or the way you atone for what you're apologizing for is to never do it again. And you can only never do it again over the course of time. So if someone truly wants to forgive you, or if you truly want to forgive someone who's apologizing to you, you have to afford them the time to never do again what they did the first time that they're apologizing for. And as they never do it again over the course of time, then you can believe them and forgive them. All right. But people will do what is in their nature to do. No matter how much they say they'll change, they will do what it's in their nature to do. You go to your significant other and you say, babe, I need you to make this change, whatever that change may be. And your mate, your loved one, significant other, whatever, they'll say, you know what, baby, I respect you, I love you, and I can appreciate you coming to me, saying this and talking to me, and I'll do my best to make a change. That right there, you know they ain't changing. I'll do my best. No. You'll do your best means that there's options for you not to do your best. You'll make an effort to do your best as opposed to just doing it and letting it rock. No. Tell the truth. How many of you listening to this podcast right now go to work every day and do your best? Don't lie. Some days you just don't feel like it. So don't sit up there and tell me that if your significant other comes up to you and says you do your best to affect whatever change that they want, that's what you're going to do every day. No. You'd be better off just saying, I hear you, I understand, and I'll do it. That's it, right? But people will always do what is in their nature to do. So, yeah, there'll be some change right off the rip because it's fresh, right? But after a while, people get tired of doing, and people will not do what is not in their nature to do. People will not do what is not in their nature to do. This is how you find out if people are really into you. This is how you find out who's really riding with you. Not even by what they actually do, but what they say they're going to do and then don't do. And it's not about, okay, I'm not going to steal from you. No. It's not that. Simple things that you ask people to do, that they say they'll do, that they may start out doing. This is them doing their best. After a while, they get tired of that and they just gradually go back to doing or not doing whatever it was that had you pissed off in the first place. Why? People will do what it is in their nature to do. Now, how is this motivational? How is this motivational? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because it's not just about me telling you something that's always going to... I'm not in the business of blowing sunshine up your butt and telling you every day is a happy, shiny day. All right? Perfect example. I look out my window right now. It's a beautifully sunny day. But it's also like 10 degrees, like 6, 7 degrees outside. It's cold out there. But it's a beautiful sunny day. All right? So you got to take the bitter with the sweet. You got to take well, in this case, the bitter with the cold. It's cold out there. But my point being, you have to be true to yourself. You understand? If you could be true to yourself, you could tell somebody, listen, I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not going to do it. I don't feel it. It's not in my heart. I'm not going to do it. And the problem with that is that people are not accustomed to being told no. People are not accustomed to hearing what they don't want to hear. People are not accustomed to hearing what they don't want to hear. A few podcasts ago, I think it was, early on in one of the earlier episodes, I talked about one of my friends from grade school who, I won't say his name, but if he had like some potato chips or some candy or something, and you asked him to share, and if my man ain't feel like sharing, he look you dead in the face and be like, no. And honestly, you can't help but feel some kind of way. Like, dude, I asked you. And then you get mad and you be like, I could just punch you in your face and take it. but again, people are not accustomed to hearing no, right? But I learned from him as a child, as we were children. I learned in that instance that there are times when it's like the only people that we're accustomed to hearing no from that we can't do anything about is our parents. And that's just not the case in life, right? So we got to get accustomed to hearing no. And there are some times when you will have to get accustomed to accepting no. And I'm not just talking about no means no in the dating sense. Now, that whole Me Too thing. That's a whole different talk show. We're not even gonna venture into that territory. But there are times when yes, you have to. In all sense, that's a good example. You know, you have to be accustomed to hearing and accepting no. All right, and you also have to accustom yourself to being able to say no. See, because not only do people not want to hear no, it's because people don't want to hear a no that others will not want to create the discomfort that comes with saying no. So they say yes, or they go along with. And they put themselves in circumstances and situations in which they really don't want to be, but they didn't want to upset the other person. They didn't want to say no. They didn't want... Listen, sometimes you have to say no. And sometimes it'll be better that you say no and establish what needs to be established right then and there. I'm not going beyond this point. I'm not doing this thing. Because now you and the other person know where you stand, where one another stands, right? So you're being true to yourself. You're doing or saying what you feel as you feel it. And if you're not feeling it, you're going to tell the other person that you're not feeling it. And there's nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. Listen. It's sad that I had to learn this in my retirement, because I believe that if people learn what I'm about to share with you while they're under employment, they would truly be free. And that is this. You are free. You are free to do whatever you want to do with your life. You just have to be willing to live with the consequences. See? And that is where the compromise in life comes into play. That is where the compromise in life comes into play. You can go to your boss, you call your boss a SOB, stinking this, that, and the third, and filth, flarn, filth. You could go to your boss and do that. I hope you got another job lined up. I hope you hit the lottery. But at the same time, there is a way that you can communicate and express yourself, being honest with yourself and letting it be known how you feel or where you stand. You have to do what you have to do in order to be true to yourself, in order to be true to your spirit. All right? Because, as I said before, people will do what is in their nature to do, but a lot of times we hold back. A lot of times we compromise, and we're compromising ourselves because we're not being honest with ourselves. And because we compromise with ourselves and not being honest with ourselves and not speaking our truth to ourselves, we exhibit that same withholding of truth and honesty in our outside relationships, in our interpersonal relationships, in our work relationships, right? If you can't be honest with yourself and say, this is how I feel, and then let that honesty come out and speak out that honesty, you're hurting yourself and the people that you're dealing with. So I'm going to end this by saying, as you venture into the rest of 2019, do so with the mindset that you are going to be honest with yourself. You are going to live your spirit. You are going to speak your spirit. And if you're going to do something, do it because you want to. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And don't be afraid to say, I'm not going to do it. Because if you don't want to do it, there's a reason why. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not going to do it. I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't bring me pleasure. It doesn't add any value to my life. I'm not going to do it. And the other person will have to deal with that. And if how that other person deals with it negatively affects you, that's something you have to take into consideration as well. All right? But be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Everything else is going to happen however it's going to happen. And by not being honest with yourself, by not being honest with the people that you're dealing with, you're only prolonging the inevitable, right? So whatever's meant to happen, might as well let it happen. Be honest and move on to a new experience. Get it done. Speak your spirit. Live your spirit. Be honest with yourself. To thine own self be true. So we're going to end this here today. And I promise you, 2019 is going to be full of Ice Talk podcasts. Before I go, you will be listening to this on Spreaker, Anchor, iTunes, and a variety of other formats and platforms. However, I would love it if you would go to Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Follow me there because we're building the follower numbers up there so we can get this podcast distributed on iTunes. I got about 74, 75 more spots that I need to fill up before I can present this podcast to iHeartRadio. I said iTunes, iHeartRadio. So we want to get this on iHeartRadio. So I need to get minimum 100 followers. So whatever platform you're listening to this on, go to Spreaker.com. It's free. Just, create a little account for yourself. Find me, follow me at the Ice Talks, and follow the Ice Talks. All right. You guys take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a great year. I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day.